I've teamed up with Dexter to teach you his statistically strongest position, mid on Anubis. Even if you think you know this spot, you're going to learn new angles, timings, utility and tricks that only a pro like Dexter can show. I'm looking to turn this into a full series, so let me know if you enjoy it and who you would like to see featured next. Let's get into it. So I'm joined here with Dexter, and he joined me all the way from Australia. He's right there. I can see him right there creeping into us, and he's gonna talk to us a bit about Anubis. I asked him about the position. I saw great stats that he had on this part of the map, and I wonder how he's doing it, that he's playing so well, or he played so well. And Dexter, floor is yours.
Yeah, so basically when I was playing mid, it's been a long time since I've been kicked and benched, so it's been a long time since I've played mid. But off my memory and everything like that, from a T-side perspective, I think everyone that's played Anubis, everyone that's in Faceit, everyone that's played, just like, you guys know that like once you have a bad mid player on CT side, everything is going to crumble, and that kind of applies to kind of pro tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 CS as well. So that was like the main thing that I wanted to focus on as a IGL, because firstly, you don't need to rely on so many teammates, and secondly, you can get the pacing of the map so much easier. From my perspective, the main thing I wanted to say would be like mid. Even though mid, I just said now that is like a solo position, it is in fact not a solo position when you're playing in like a high level team, mainly because you always want to bounce around with your teammates, and to kind of rely on that. When I was IGL, I would always have a default that was either heavier towards A, and every team will have the same thing, heavier towards A with 3 towards A, being canals and the stairs, and then you have the B lurker, and then vice versa with heavier towards B. The reason for this probably is because like I want to be able to read in this moment when I get to round to here, where numbers are playing towards B, and if numbers are playing towards mid, so that I can use my teammates to take space. And usually when my teammates are playing really well, they would take space towards A, connector or E-box. I don't know what everyone calls it in Europe, but yeah.
I mean, we fully understand you, so it's all good. Make up your calls, and we learn yours actually.
Yeah, I call this connector at least.
Yeah, that's fine.
And then once I'm able to use those feeling things, then I essentially can like progress a lot more. So usually what happens in the game is like before every match, I would make a game plan whether I would want to go aggressive in mid or I want to be the secondary aggressive like role. What that means is like, for example, there was a game versus Complexity versus the major, and it was me versus Elish basically. And in that game, I defined my game plan that I wanted to be really, really aggressive by using my support player, my B player, to be throwing either the fast Molotov, fast Molotov into window, and then me layering this Molotov just to pressure. And then I always wait for like reactions. I never really just run and just look for the fight. But usually my game plan is like always to kind of wait for the reaction. But with the major game, I knew that Elijah is the type of person that would watch how I play usually. And he would notice that I would be always double Molotoving and then playing slow and then like getting a flash here, being extra careful. What I wanted to do was just play super aggressive, and that meant running through the CT Molotov or smoke with these double Molotovs up, knowing that he won't pee around this spot behind the smoke, and then just essentially catching him every single time as much as possible. And that was like my interpretation of, I guess, like making first contact all the time. Because
right. So you can have like different play styles right around this mid. You might have a lot of utility based things where you just take middle and you play kind of like creep Counter-Strike, but you also can just force your duels, I guess, through, because you're most likely facing one CT, which is super uncomfortable. Because if CT, like this position is in a way that if CT makes a mistake and he overstays, basically has no chance of going back to camera or deeper middle, because you're going to catch him, right?
Yeah, every single time. And the way, at least with Elish, the way he would play was HellRaisers would always support from here. He would support, and then Elish will be here. And just because HellRaisers is supporting, he doesn't have any time to pull up the AWP and like trade me essentially. So
yeah.
I think there was like 2 rounds in a row. Basically, I was able to catch him very easily, and then sometimes I was catch Holzerk. But I'm gonna get to the point later of like the downsides of this as well, which I didn't learn later on, but I'll explain later. But yeah, essentially that is the best way to kind of go first contact, and then kind of use, I guess, like methodical thinking about it as well, because you kind of need to be aware as a mid player of how you approach the games in like every scenario. Teams and players will kind of get used to your pacing very easily, so you need to kind of be in that position where you can throw in multiple different paces and be comfortable with it. You can't be going first like this, how I just explained all the time. It works once in a blue moon, and I'm glad it worked for a major game, but there are other games that it won't work on.
So do you think this mid player should be the most flexible guy on the team when it comes to playstyle? Is it probably every round that requires you to do something different, which obviously is kind of fitting for an IGL role as well, because you hear a lot of things on middle, like every rotation is kind of heard. So is that the reason why a lot of IGLs and playmakers are playing this position? But hey, first, let me tell you about the sponsor of today's video, Maclens. And we've been looking for a new keyboard, but don't know really what to pick. Well, not anymore. Maclens released the Blade 75, a wireless mechanical keyboard with an amazing sound profile and build quality. So perfect for productivity and also obviously for gaming. And best of all, it's just $85 if you use code STYKO10OFF. And it has everything you could want: a 75% layout and gasket mount with a flex cut PC plate for amazing sound and feel. Just have a listen. And I'm also hosting a giveaway for this keyboard on my Instagram, so if you're feeling lucky, check the description for the link. And the discount itself ends in 7 days since the video gets released, so take it while it's available. And once again, thanks Maclens for sponsoring this portion of the video. And now let's continue and get back.
Yeah, I would say so. I think I got a lot of like inspiration of Carrigan when he was playing here. I think this might have been a while ago. I don't know if he's playing here again still, but
I think he does.
Okay, cool. The best part about being IGL, being a mid player, is essentially I know how fast I want to take it, and just because I've watched the games and watched the demos of the other teams, I know like there might be numbers here. Even if I do die, my team are going to be ready like to either pop into A with execute or pop into B with an execute, or like do like a crazy play with 2 players here with AWP searching these lines instantly, those kind of things, because I just want to be able to keep them here and then instantly just call from there. And if I get to this point and I realize there's like, oh, there's no one actually here, then instantly I know that in my head that there's got to be numbers towards B or A. Usually then we just slow down the pace. There is no point to kind of force my teammates to kind of go more aggressive than not, unless I see numbers. That's like why it's so beneficial to be like an IGL in this position.
And if you're not an IGL and you're still playing this position, you need to make some calls, right? If you take the mid and park yourself...
That takes a lot of balls to kind of challenge your IGL and also challenge your way of thinking to kind of push yourself to be uncomfortable but comfortable in the same sense, you know?
100%. Do you have overall any utility that, for example, if players are watching right now that are not mid players, how can you support this mid player? Like when you were playing middle, what would you usually ask for? Are there some flashes from, let's say, outside A, outside B that you would require in order to just make your life in general easier?
Yeah, I think I didn't usually actually utilize my teammates too much. I only have like 2 or 3 things that I would use. I wouldn't say it's anything different, but yeah, again, like when I call, let's do double mollies in mid, it was Liaz will come here and then like run and throw. I'm sorry, I'm lagging, so if it hits, it hits.
Yeah, it hits though.
Yep. And then I would instantly come and do this, this Molotov. And usually, like these 2 Molotovs I would use to kind of get the space. And once we get to that point, Liaz will come here and then instantly hold this flash and then like flash for me to peek this line.
So it's just pretty straightforward, yeah.
Yeah, very straightforward, but I think I like to be in charge of understanding the team aspect of like what I'm doing a lot more, because I never was the type of player to be like, okay, do the special Molotov or crazy Molotov and one way for me to kind of utilize it to get the kills. I would know the opposite team's reaction way more than I would know like what the plan is for the next step. That's why like Anubis is like so good of a map for me, because 90% of the teams or whatever would instantly hear that they've lost mid and instantly like fight here or just poke here or something like that. And I would often play a scenario where like you transition out of this mid role as well. You don't need to be a mid after you've like fake took it, because 90% of the time, as I said, like a lot of teams are gonna like flash B and push, and you actually want to turn into that support player for the B player. And I think the majority of the kills team got and the B lurker got was when I came back and was holding this flash, a really basic flash, just for my teammates to like, for him to kind of just catch anyone that's pushing him. This is why like I think the meta's definitely shifted off reactions a lot more for Anubis in Super Pro CS, and more gambly reactions, I would say, keeping your util a lot longer. That's one thing. I'll continue with some util stuff. Special util I would use, again, it's been so long, that'd be this smoke. Bit risky, but I would come here and then do this Molotov here, and usually someone would stay around like here, and I would try hold this angle to catch anyone.
I see.
And then
I think if you jump here, right, as well, you can see the like a little bit better. Yeah, you don't make sound, right?
Yeah, no, you don't make sound at all. And I knew that once Carrigan was throwing that, and I'll get back to the point, but I'll counter him on CT as well. When you watch his games too much, you would counter him on CT a lot. That double Molotov from your teammate, mostly your B lurker or the AWPer, is really nice. And then my other like really basic flash I would do is just like this. I would just like stand here and then just like jump W throw. There's probably better ones, but
seems good
that's
enough.
All you really need,
Yep.
to catch like this guy here. Once you do get this mid control, this is like another like step where you kind of need to balance between being aggressive and not so aggressive. And the way I kind of go about it is that for the not so aggressive version, it's important to kind of just take the space, let them know you're there, but let them think that you're not the threat. So now you want to always utilize your teammates. And this might not work in Faceit pugs where everyone wants to bait each other. But if you have a good team that everyone wants to play for each other, then it's going to be great. Best case scenario, what I would call is for the AWPer to go B. This is much earlier in the round, where it was Regali or Alistair or any AWPer to essentially search B at this point with 2 more players behind him. And once they see the AWPer like on this side, even if he misses or anything like that, or if he gets a kill, it's even better. That is when my role like reactivates again. But this is like how you kind of use your like teammates essentially to get the space. And it's like way less risky when you have an AWPer that's doing things like that. And oftentimes you can shift walk a lot up to here, because by the time you have that mid control, I think 90% of the teams, well, not 90%, maybe a better number I can use, let's say 50%, sorry, would probably go into this setup, right? Like the most basic thing, just hold the Molotov, one person here, or whatever, take them to space and aim.
I feel like that AWP information, that AWP information is actually very crucial on this map, because I feel like when you're on middle and you have AK and you have 100 HP and you know that AWP is not against you, but it's M4, you feel much more comfortable in all the duels. Like the way these angles work around middle, like you can see that CTs are playing these jiggle positions with mollies and smokes, etc., etc. Why? Because they're afraid to take this fight, because Ts are going to generally just delete them. It's very easy to pre-aim all these positions, and CT is scared. And only real counter to you is that if AWP would be holding you. But if you have information, AWP is an A main or AWP is a B, for example, take that space, like take those duels, and you're going to get really, really good and like advanced position for the rest of your teammates to react.
Yeah, exactly. Even when I get up to this spot, when I know the AWPer is not in like this line or this line, then I know like there's no way, like it's silly for an AWPer to be here, to be honest.
Yeah,
like it'll happen all the time, but it's pretty rare in my case. So that's when I usually expect the CT AWPer to be way more passive on like this line there's obviously like setups where the Oppo will be on like this and there'll be rifle here, or is on B. And that is when I usually, this is called probably a big balls move. Could be called dumb, could be not. But this is where like I thrive, to be honest, as a player, because I want to get up to this spot and I never like look for the one tap on this guy, to be honest. I always just strafe and let him see me. And if he doesn't like see me, then I know like, okay, better scenario for me. But if he does see me, I expect the comms in like the CT comms to be just going all hectic right now. Everyone's been like, one's mid, everyone's is coming behind you, all that kind of stuff. Everyone's screaming in the mic. And this is when I never actually even go further, just because there's always someone waiting. I just sit here. I just wait here, and then best case scenario, like they're all just watching me. The worst case scenario that's happened to me probably is when they all like try to retake mid. They're like, oh, one's crossed, and then they kind of retake. And then this is like also a great scenario for me as an IGL, because if my teammates aren't ready to go B or A right now, then I've done the worst thing I could do. But if they were ready, then it's like the best thing. And usually I try to make sure they are ready. Mm-hmm. So yeah, even if I die here for 0 kills, my teammates either have a free B site or A. And usually when I try to cross this line, I expect my teammates to be more heavier towards B.
I see so many differences when a playmaker is playing this role, because then I guarantee you that the guys who are shooting hard, they would go for these one taps, right? But because you're an IGL and you're playing for an overview and macro decision of the map, I can see you that you don't take unnecessary duels, right? It might seem like boring gameplay, but in reality, it's so painful for CTs to even do anything.
Because they don't know the numbers as well. Like they've only seen me, and there could be an Oppo here. There could be like more people just holding this line, and it's extremely like difficult to kind of get flashed back in to mid and expect everyone to be blind, right? So that's like usually the best case scenario for me.
Yeah, I mean, what you've showed so far, it feels like a headache holding middle for CTs. So how the hell do you do that? Let's switch to CT side and let's talk about some of those examples that you mentioned before and how to counter them.
I did mention that when I was playing, like it worked well as a T versus Elige, because I expected him of how to play of him. But then I went into this is where I went wrong. I went into the next game. It was the first BO3 versus Team Liquid. We won the first map, and then the second map came up and it was Anubis, obviously. Now it was me versus Twist in mid, right? And he had I applied the same game style, because obviously my ego and what worked too well. And I was like, okay, this is going to work so much more now. But then Twist also had a different way of playing as well. And this is what definitely counted me. Essentially, the only different thing I was doing as a T, I was just doing this smoke a little bit more to change up pacing. But this is what Twist would do. He would never have anyone actually supporting him, because he knew that often I was alone. I noticed from him in the first couple rounds, and mostly every round, was that he pretty much big balls me, in the sense that every time I would do this molly and then this molly, or I'll do smoke here and molly or whatever, he would essentially always be the one trying to fight me. And this is where this is the big downside of my gameplay for being the first contact. When I would always be walking up, and he would have these advantageous angles, and then just kind of just take the drill when it's Twist, even if he was IGLing or whatever, he's still going to be a really insane aimer, and it's not advantageous at all to kind of take on him dry.
That's where those flashes from the Opera probably would come handy, right? To make it a little bit safer for yourself. But that's hindsight,
though. I kind of went wrong. Yeah, that's where I went wrong, and I was like, I wish I just it's always hindsight. Yes, I just wish I essentially got these flashes, or I changed how we played, or whatever, because I was just so focused on being that player that's going to be the first contact again and win the game for us. I didn't really utilize my teammates right. And then Twist would catch me here, which is, let's in the first 25 seconds of the round, he would kill me, which often meant the CTs on the other side of the map, which was, I believe it was NAF or JKS. They would always kind of block this side and have an extra smoke, so that when I did die, or if Twist got flashed in, or whatever he did, or anyone peeked or ultimate, my teammates could never react. essentially. And just because they couldn't react meant the round was like at least like times 2 harder to win. And the most common reaction would just be like B, but it's just not like as comfortable as it used to be because CTs are so like comfortable putting ops on there. So
it makes sense.
Like,
so he was like playing in front of your utility, right? And
yes,
basically just trying to get as early duel as possible.
Because he just realized I was like the solo IGL taking space. Then I was like, all right, I'm gonna go just F this kid up, and yeah, that's what he did. And then I think this can apply to a lot of players. You can see like that also have the same mindset as me on T side. So like if you kind of apply that, then yeah, it will make it a lot harder.
All right. Anything passive which you liked or previously played with your teammates in a more setup-ish way when you called your teammates, maybe your OPER, were you doing something specific, or was it always like kind of like counter strat to what you feel like they were doing? Because there's some plays you can do without actually thinking about counter strat or anti-stratting. So it usually gives you at least some kind of information, not necessarily a kill, but information is sometimes good enough on Anubis because it's so incredibly T-sided.
This is like the most simple, like we usually just call it 2-1-2 or like default. And this is like how like probably 80% of my rounds went, and this worked really, really well. So start round, I'll let my my A player who was Vexite play however he likes. So usually he would kind of like do the mollo block time and just buy time for us, which is fine. Me, I would come up mid. I would just listen for anyone that goes. In Australia, we call this cringe. I have no idea why.
I think actually now we call it cringe as well.
Really? Okay. So yeah, now we know. And then essentially, I'll come here, make my steps, whatever. Then I'll throw a smoke, and there's always like 2 smokes I would want to do. Like this is like the most simple one that everyone does, right? But the big thing is like everyone can kind of counter with this boost. The way I would like to do it, like when I'm really worried about a team that can boost or whatever, which any team can do, would just be like to do like a much more shallow smoke. It's like this, and then when this guy like communicates that like he can't see like behind the boost, then there's like a higher chance that this guy's just not gonna walk through. I'll throw this smoke, and then I'll just shift walk rotate to here, and essentially now my role is to listen for when they take mid. I'll be responsible for if they do actually just big balls it and like walk through the mid smoke. And those are my like 2 roles. And then now that, for example, let's say that they take mid and they do the most basic util that always wins mid, like the smoke and the molly here. Yeah. What I would always do now is like recommend to Vexite, and me and him were very on the same page, was that I'd instantly come here, and this is probably something that Vitality do a lot as well. See Apeks and Flames doing the same thing. But essentially, I'll come here, hold the flash, and Vexite will do the smoke. I don't know the smoke. It's been a long time since I've thrown it. Maybe someone in editing could throw it.
I mean, we have exactly.
I did it.
That was insane. Maybe you should not learn the utility. Just throw everything on the fly.
And then, this I will throw that molly, and I'll flash him in, and then we'll take the space. And then that was like the main like thing we would try to do. And then from here, obviously, you just use 2 sets of util, one in the mid and one in A. And then usually I would have 1 more smoke that's left by the AWPer. When you have this last smoke, you kind of want to play in a system now with your teammates. So this is the most safe way, is expect them to A split, because they have mid and then they have A. They could be out anywhere outside A main. So if you're in a situation where you're like, I don't want to push, let's just like play time. So you probably wasted a minute of the the T's time now. Hopefully I have like a Molotov and a smoke still. And then this is where you want to counter the split. At this point, usually most teams will just do a 2-3 split, and the A players never really like go first, right? It's very, very rare that 2 A players come and hit first, or 1 player comes here first, and then split. So usually there's always going to be my responsibility to just be in charge of this. And then once the split comes and whatnot, just smoke, and then play around however you can. And I always expect that flash to come that pops around.
Right.
Yeah. And then basically me and Vexite, we would always just fight one side together. And then once you're done with that side, then you kind of just relieve so much space. And there's always going to be rounds and situations where you just get unlucky, where it is CS2, where someone could just run through and clock you in the head and whatnot. But it was the most consistent way of playing for the anti-split.
It makes a lot of sense because a lot of, like, well, face it, when someone wants to play middle on Anubis, they think that they have to be on middle all the time. And they don't understand that second A player, that they just, like, if terrorists are playing well with utility on middle and they can shoot a little bit, they will be able to just counter you very freely if you stay on middle all by your lonesome, right? So you have to just kind of delay them and play with your teammates towards A, and that's just how the role basically developed over the years. Because mid is just everyone knows how to smoke and molly, and with that being said, it's very hard to generate the counterplay. Obviously, you can play like Twist in front of the set, but it's
that's officials.
yeah, it's very like, I don't want to say one trick pony like, but you need to develop like a game style where you are playing with utility and playing defensive and playing on jiggles. So
yeah, and it can definitely get a lot more complicated, obviously, when you do join a team and you do like figure out techniques to kind of fight in mid as well. Because yeah, I think one thing Nico was really good at was just essentially doing this nade, I believe, or this nade. Yeah, I think it was this nade, and then popping this smoke, and then Hunter back in the day would just do like this flash. They'll just time that just to break up the thing. He wouldn't do this every round, he would just do it once, and someone would flash, Hunter would flash, and then they would just catch one player here.
That's very nice. And Hunter gets getting a flash assist probably. Make these speed up towards B, because like Nico made a play on middle, and Hunter getting a flash assist is probably around him, but Hunter is actually in position.
He was ready, actually. Ready here or was watching D. So one of those.
This is cool play. Did you have some
technical?
Yeah. Did you have some protocols or reactions? This is something that, like, last thing we can touch upon on CD side. How do you retake the area? Because obviously T is unholdable against good set of util. A main is also kind of iffy, you can't really hold it sometimes. Do you have some out pushes? And if yes, how were you doing it? Or how did you like present it to the team when it's good to do like mid out push, A out push? Did you go all the way, like trying to almost walk towards B lobby or something like that?
Yeah, I think I've been in that situation a lot. So I'll go over mid one first.
Okay.
This is when we lose mid, yes?
Yeah, let's say you lose mid and you're like completely screwed up and you don't have information and you need to retake something. And mid feels like is one of the easiest things to retake, because usually there's like one guy parked there, and if you win that duel, you gain a lot of information.
And you force them to kind of react. And once they react, obviously they're noisy. So I think the main thing that we always did was when we wanted to get info, just call it mid retake, whatever, was that this is how you use your teammates as well. So your connector player will obviously hear numbers in mid. And if he doesn't, then it's fine. But if he does hear like 2 footsteps, then you know that's definitely numbers in mid. And if he doesn't hear anyone, then it's even better. So essentially, Inz was our connector player, and he would also just say numbers, and then he would be actually the one that calls the retakes, because he has the most info actually. Because usually when they do take mid, they've double mollied or they're smoked and mollied. There's no way that I can see. Like from my perspective, I don't see numbers. From his perspective, he can call numbers a little bit easier. And then once we know, like as a team, we wanted to do mid retake, often very, very, very simple. We did it in the past where the A player would come here and then hold the flash, and it goes through the window and pops, etc. That was not working the best, because usually once you get flash, you just hide, right? The teasers hide.
Yeah.
And then you don't really get the jewels that you want to fight. So what we usually went with was like 3 players would come towards mid. Usually the B anchor, and Oppo would stay on B, and then it would be 3 of us. And very simply, it would just be like 3, 2, 1, and usually it was always me, just kind of wide strafing, and then just catching these angles, clearing as many angles as well. So that was my role. This player's role would swing and clear this angle, and then this player's role would just hold, like peek and hold this angle. And then as soon as I get to this part, I'll just like hard clear everything, and then from here we just kind of push onwards. And then once we know this mid is clear, it could be anyone in this scenario, but mostly it was me. I would just do the one that would be like, you'd be called instantly, just be like, mid clear, lock down the other sides, and then everyone just throws ETL on the sides, and then from here, just flank.
Yeah.
You just have to pick your side and then just flank. That's it.
Yeah, you have a decision to make if you drop down to water, to canals, right? Or you go B main.
Yeah.
It's all depending then on a kind of like call of your teammates. And for myself, like when I outpush this middle, I don't even cross window before the execute happens. Because I'm still afraid that if it's A, like this stairs guy might be still holding me or there might be a lurk. But if the execute is already starting, then I'm either instantly dropping down to canals, or if I feel like they're B main, I can like even sprint my way into the B main, and quite successful with it, especially if it's not 5v5 anymore. If it's like some trades been happening on the map and it's like 4v4 and maybe the lurker is not there anymore, that is like pretty good success rate, I would say, when you insta flank before the execute comes. And even if you don't catch them in B main, you still get so powerful a retake position later on that you can just walk behind them at this point and they will never expect you.
You can call me stupid if you like, STYKO, but in my mentality, I was a little bit different for this part.
All right. Tell me.
This is the theory of CS, be called the IGL brain, for me at least. When you just have the most stupid amount of confidence. And I know it didn't work all the time, but I'm just saying, like, this is how it would go. I would just always do a go.
you just don't wait for anything, right? Did it ever happen to you that someone was literally just holding you randomly? Because it's
not from here actually, but from it was Eternal Fire and Xantares. I think it was Xantares. Yeah, would always just be waiting for me. But I think that was the anti that they antied us. But from my POV, when I was versing actual teams, I like the timing in my head of like how everything worked. Was that like there's no way that kind of someone they leave mid and then they aren't ready to kind of execute already on one of the sides, at least. And I'm not saying this is right all the time. I'm just saying like this is how I thought about it. By the time we actually clear mid, this is probably like a minute, say 50 seconds left or something like that.
Yeah.
90 times, like so much of the time they have to already be getting ready for the execute. So I actually will always just keep going as like. Just keep going to kind of catch them. And I know what you're saying, like it makes complete sense. And I definitely had to learn the hard way to even to adjust my playstyle sometimes to do that as well. But there was a time when this was just always working. And then when it stopped working is when I'm pretty sure everyone knew I was doing it. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to call you stupid for that, obviously. Like challenging this way is great. And it adds like a depth of like layer of just a game style, what you have to think about. And obviously we played in different regions and different levels, etc. So something that works always for you didn't work that much for me, and something that worked almost always for me wasn't that successful to you, but that's just individuality of a player. Like this is just my thinking that I remember in practice, like during one day I died like 3 times pushing mid, and then I somehow inside of my brain that okay, I'm just going to keep waiting a little bit, and then I found more success with it. And all it took was just that one stupid day that maybe I was unlucky, but I created a protocol for myself. And that's how, I guess, how you grow as a player, right? And as well through through conversation like this. Like I'm glad that you actually challenged me on that one, because now I'm gonna be tempted to just instantly go and then get blamed by my coach.
Well. when I die too much, and my coach was like, he should stop doing that. I was like, yeah, you're right. Then I kind of learned to wait for timings and change my thing up. But I was only do the push when I felt that like it was only one time in a whole CT side that I would do this.
Yeah, I mean it's necessary on a map like this. So thank you for that, and a lot of knowledge, honestly, that you shared. And I'm very excited to just talk to you about anything about Counter-Strike, really. So thank you for giving us this overview of Anubis, and clearly we wish you good luck in finding your new home and keep competing, keep smashing, and get that revenge against Twist on Anubis. Okay?
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, likewise. Bye-bye. Huge shout out to my coffee members for your continual support so I can make more videos like this for you. Their name is on the screen right now, and if you want to appear here too, check out my coffee page where you can gain tons of cool and exclusive perks at various tiers of membership. And when I say they're cool, I mean it. Give it a look, it's worth it. Thank you for making my content better and possible.